Hi Marglass, welcome to another day and another episode of The Creakers. And our special guest today is Mrs. Jackson.
Hi everybody, hope you're well.
We're in school today, so there's lots of other children listening as well to the story, so you're all listening to it together. It's fantastic. Hope you have a wonderful day, and let's carry on. Dad, your coat pocket, she exclaimed. There's something in there. It's yours, remember? Slowly the king slid his long black creaker claw into the coat pocket and pulled out something small, shiny and silver. His harmonica! You used to play it for me every night, Lucy said hopefully. She gazed at the king's face, watching for any sign that he recognised the object. He held it out in the palm of his hand, staring at it, studying it. Trick! 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 The four naughty creakers chanted in the king's ear as he turned the silver harmonica round and saw his wretched reflection in its shiny surface. What is this thing? This be too shiny and nice to be the Creaker King's, he snapped. You be tricksing me, you little kidderling. I'd never seen this before. No! Lucy cried out as he tossed the harmonica through the air. It landed with a splash in what was once the flowing pink milkshake river. But it was now a stream of mouldy, bubbling sludge. Lucy ran to the edge of the stream, but it was too late. The harmonica was gone, sinking deep into the mulch, along with all hope of freeing her dad from this creaker spell. The wallab shook violently again, causing huge chunks of mould and festering rot to break away and crumble to dust. Lucy, it's really time to get out of there, Norman yelled through the hole from Whiffington, but Lucy didn't budge. I can't leave you behind. I won't lose you again, Dad, Lucy said through teary eyes. Her vision must have blurred, as for a moment she thought she saw a little green teardrop trickle down Sniff's cheek too. As the wallab collapsed around them, Grunt, Guff, Scratch and Sniff leapt for cover, shielding themselves from the falling debris anywhere they could. Grunt and Scratch scuffled behind boulders while a panicking Guff tried to bury himself in the mud. Sniff even dived headfirst into the mouldy river. Look what you humans have done to our world, to our home, the Creaker King said, looking at his glorious rotten castle, which was beginning to tumble down one silver dustbin at a time. We Creakers never wanted to. There you go, there's the Creaker world falling apart. But Lucy had stopped listening. Something had caught her eye, something impossible. Something small, shiny and silver. Dad's harmonica, she whispered as she watched it rise out of the flowing river as though some sort of spell was bringing it back from the dead. Then she saw 3 black claws clasped around it and then a bony arm emerging from the mulch. Finally Sniff's head appeared and the creaker pulled himself silently out onto the bank of the river, soggy and damp and covered with slime. Sniff! Lucy gasped. The little creaker put one claw on his cracked lips and shook his head. Lucy glanced over to the pile of rubble and mud where Grunt, Guff and Scratch were hiding. They were staring suspiciously at Sniff. Scratch spotted the harmonica. Scratch pointed it out to Guff, Guff pointed it out to Grunt, and Grunt's eyes narrowed in anger. But just as he was about to alert the king, Sniff plunged his claw into the black pouch around his neck and blew a clawful of golden dozy dust into the air. The sleepy cloud of dust didn't float lazily this time. It shot like an arrow across the wallab towards Grunt, Guff and Scratch. Thud! Thump! Trump! The 3 creakers fell fast asleep instantly, collapsing on the floor. And that's why humans can never be trusted, the king continued, pacing back and forth, avoiding the cracks appearing in the ground around him. Sniff creaked silently over to Lucy, and with a wet, trembling claw handed her the harmonica. But please, help us, he said, his beady black eyes suddenly large and worried, so that he looked like a sad kitten. Lucy saw something in him she'd not seen in the creakers before. Kindness. She took the harmonica, closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and started to play. Beautiful music suddenly filled every corner of the collapsing cave while she tried to remember Lucy's lullaby, the one her dad used to play to her every night. The king stopped talking. He froze on the spot, as though he could do nothing but listen to the music. As the notes reached the sleeping creaker's pointy, cabbage-like ears, They began coming round from the dozy dust spell, shaking off the slumber much faster than humans. "Don't listen, your rottenness!" they cried, scrunching up their faces as though the beautiful sound was hurting them. But the king couldn't help it. He was already caught in the music's magic. His cracked black lip was trembling. He was starting to remember. "You be turned back to dust if you go back," Scratch said in a panicked voice. "Back?" the king whispered, and Grunt shot Scratch an evil look for confirming the truth. Huge crystal teardrops formed at the corner of the king's eyes and began falling down his cheeks. Not tears of sadness, but of happiness. Happy tears, because every note Lucy played brought his human memories back to him. There you go, so Creaky King and Lucy playing the harmonica. You see? Music is more than just sound and noise, more than notes and melodies. Music can transport us to different places, change the way we feel, bring back people no longer with us. Music cannot be seen or touched. It has to be felt, and as the king felt it, his head was filled with images of Lucy laughing, playing and smiling, images of his wife and his home. These happy tears fell across his rotten skin, leaving a trail behind them. It was as though they were washing away the wicked work of the Walleb, and the disgusting creaker he had become was melting at their touch. When Lucy finished playing, she opened her eyes. "Let's go home, Lucy Pops," her dad whispered. Chapter 27, Going Home. Mr. Larry Dunstan was back. While the creakers watched in dismay, he grasped Lucy's hand, and together they ran back to the tunnel where the bright circles of sunshine were pouring into the Walleb from Whiffington. Several very worried faces were peering at them through the holes, including Norman's. "Lucy's back!" he yelled as she came into view. "And she's with... Wait, Lucy, is that your dad?" "Yes, the creaker snatched him," she yelled back. "Get ready, we're coming!" Her dad grasped the nearest knotted rope in one hand and lifted up his Lucy Pops with the other. Then he tried to pull himself along the rope, but he was too weak. The transformation from King Creaker back to plain old bin man had sapped all his energy. "Norman, we're going to need some help," Lucy called out. Norman quickly pulled the rope through the hole towards him. Lucy watched as he looped, twisted, knotted and pulled it like some sort of Texas cowboy, using every scout knot he knew. He threw it back to them a minute later. It was now a sturdy harness, big and strong enough for them both to slip over their shoulders. "Hold on tight!" shouted Norman. "Everybody, pull!" Lucy and her dad were suddenly hoisted off the ground. They were pulled away from the Walleb, moving through the glowing wormhole into the glorious sunlight of Whiffington, as the crumbling rot of his hidden secret world decayed around them. Lucy hugged her father tighter than she'd ever hugged anyone before. She pressed her cheek into the awful stink of his work coat, revelling in the warmth that now filled it, no longer having to imagine he was there. As they moved along the melting wormhole, Lucy stole a glance into the backwards world below and felt a heaviness pull down on her heart. In the shadows she saw Grunt, Guff, Scratch and Sniff huddled together, shaking with fear as they watched their world, their home, their lives crumble around them. Okay, here's Lucy coming out of the Walleb with her dad. You all see that? Yeah. The sunlight grew more intense and suddenly broke through the other side of Creakerland, burning a hole even deeper into the Walleb. The walls turned to dust and filled the air with a dull brown mist, and as it cleared, Lucy caught a glimpse of the vast Creaker city. It was the one she'd seen on the map at the centre of all those spider-like legs. Miles below, there were thousands of Creakers crawling around, young ones, old ones, families, babies, all scurrying for cover, all desperate to avoid the burning sunlight blasting down into their world of waste and mess. Suddenly, the memory of Sniff's wide eyes filled Lucy's mind, and she heard his scratchy voice asking for help. Her heart broke for him and for all the Creaker kind below. "There you are," Norman said, as Lucy came into view, and he pulled her back into the real world along with the bunch of scruffy-haired, wild-looking children who had helped to heave him up. "Norman!" cried Lucy, throwing her arms round him and giving him a huge hug. "Thank you, and thank all of you too," she said to the wild kids. "Now off you go and find your parents," Norman said. And with that, the filthy children bolted for the door. "Oh, Norman, this is my dad," explained Lucy. "Dad, this is my friend Norman." Norman hopped to attention and gave the best Scout salute he could manage. "At ease, Norman. Nice to meet you. Any friend of Lucy's is a friend of mine," Mr. Dunstan said, attempting his own Scout salute. It wasn't technically correct, but Norman let it go. This time. "Thanks," he whispered to Lucy. "For what?" "For telling your dad we were friends." "I wasn't just saying it, Norman, I meant it," Lucy said, giving him a little nudge with her shoulder. Norman, where are we?" she asked, suddenly realising that she didn't recognise the room they were standing in. It was decorated in every shade of pink, and unless her eyes were playing tricks on her, it had fluffy wallpaper and the biggest four-poster bed she'd ever seen. "Wait, let me guess," Lucy said. "Ella's house." Okay, we're going to have to stop there for today. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.